All right, everybody, let's go study. How about some music? Bossa Nova. I wish I could share a screen, but I don't know how. That'd be good for cleaning my hair too. If I could share another part of the screen. Let's see it here. There you go. Really? Just posture too. Also tells them my posture. Simple keyboard secretion and absorption. Memory, salivary glands. Kidney tubules, but I'm gonna put extra. I'm using right. Anyway, simple columnar. Simple column bronch. Again, secretion and absorption. Simple columnar. Stomach intestines. Ciliated. Uterine. Goblet cells. Unicellular glands. Mucus. Mucus. Goblet cells. Ooh, I need a break. think that something from that. Nucleus. Put these away. Boring, but necessary. What if we change the better? Kinda. Make a pee. Oh, guess who's visiting us? Oh, there's my little boy. I'm gonna cuddle this guy. Rico?
Work for a while. Let's go ahead. In 20 minutes. Nuts. Man, look at my jaw. I'm just kidding. Go do whatever you're doing. Blinds.
That's it. Uh, uh,
Howie.
Hi, Professor, can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Yeah,
Good.
well,
How you doing?
not too good. Long story short, it's been quite a ride for me to transition to the program. And I've had quite a lot of trouble with, I mean, obviously there's no excuses, but my transition has been pretty rough, including getting internet. And I already get anxious about, taking tests. But as you probably know, I've been waitlisted into the program, so I didn't really know about getting in until like about a month prior. And then I've been trying to secure a living situation ever since. And then my car broke down, so I don't have a car. So I don't have a car, don't have internet, but at least I have a place to live. And so, I mean, again, not to put any excuse on it, but I literally had no time to download your 800 megabyte video lecture. So I had to go to a cafe to listen on it, and I could just listen on it one time because I couldn't download it. And then I was just trying to figure out everything else. So coming into the testing situation and not knowing anybody, and I wasn't sure if we were going to start on time or things like that, and the noise level in the room. It just also didn't help that I drank coffee right before we started the test, so my anxiety was just through the roof. So I did not look at your visible body because it just took so long to load. I distinctly remember on your video lecture to look over at um, the microanatomy, and that's what I was looking at. I did not know, looking back into it, that you also had another section hidden within visible body called the histology section, where a lot of more slides were there. So I just trying to gather all the content and mainstream it so that I can just kind of sit down and study and then just do flashcards. Because flashcards, I'll start with that, but I don't completely use it because I need to be able to cement it into my memory to see. I can't use flashcards to relate things together. So when I'm doing the quiz and the test, then I don't have like multiple choice questions. I only had that one practice question from your Respondus lockdown browser. So it gave me an idea, but then I added another anxiety because I'm like, what if I type it wrong? So I did it a couple of times to make sure that hyaline cartilage would still be correct, whether it's capitalized or not capitalized. So, but then when you're asking for the structures, I didn't know whether or not you wanted to, like, let's say on your handout, you had everything categorized between dense and loose connective tissue, CT proper and all that, but I don't know how you wanted me to type it. You wanted me to type it connective tissue first, then dense and that. So between my anxiety and then trying to figure out exactly how you wanted the answers to be structured in that blank space gave me more anxiety because I didn't know if I was going to get it right or wrong anyway. So I started to lose hope in the middle of that test. So then I just kind of like decided to I'll just say, okay, I'll just say connective tissue first, and then whatever it is, and then whatever it is. But that time, everybody was starting to walk out of the test, and I'm like, I don't want to be like the last person. I know that's pretty juvenile, but I still have that little bit of anxiety from that. But I kind of went over, there's so many questions, but I looked at some of the questions. Do you mind if I go over some of my thought process on those questions out of order?
Yeah.
Okay. So for question 28, it said the cellular structure responsible for packaging and excretory mucin. So when I was looking at cellular structure, in my head, I was ready to answer. I was looking for the term organelle. So I wasn't thinking so much Golgi complex. I think I just answered something else. And then for question 3, I just needed to study that one more. Question 36, the question said cells highlighted in blue I put down Meissner instead of Merkel. I just maybe needed more examples, but your Merkel wasn't in the lab handout because I was mostly heavily relying on your PowerPoint and your lab handout. It's not mentioned there whatsoever. So I also get confused because then I'm trying to make up for that extra content from Dr. K's lectures because you said you guys were complementary. So I don't know if that meant that you guys weren't going to test each other on the same things or you would. I just assumed that you would. Merkel was in the lab handout too, and the Merkel also wasn't in the PowerPoint. So it's not in there. So I just kind of forgot about that. Number
Yeah.
30, yeah. Number 38, sorry, were you gonna say?
No, go ahead.
I think you mentioned it in the lecture, in your video lecture, but I was kind of focusing on the lab handouts. And then the lab handouts, I was struggling to find all the histology samples that I could within my internet. Like I would go to a coffee shop, try to find it, download it, wait for visible body to show up. I even tried downloading it on the iPhone app, and then in paying the extra like $30 or whatever to try to get flashcards out. I couldn't find it there. On question 38, it says structures in aqua blue. I don't know what you mean by aqua blue. I was kind of hoping that you would just kind of use arrows, be like, what is this? And you have, and you did, but just, I know it was a structure that looked like spiders, but because I was in such high anxiety, I was seeing that the veins was like, maybe he means this too. Maybe he means that, but he didn't mention that. If I would have just stepped back and just calmed myself, it would have been obviously indicative that you're not trying to talk about the veins or the capillaries or anything like that. You're talking about those, the Pacinian or the Meissner, which one was it? So it said on your lab handout, it said present on 6.6 of A and P. What is that? Is it the textbook or was it so I also had to look for a textbook to try to find that content of that. Keep in mind, I'm shy, so I didn't join any study groups. So I've been isolating. I'm trying to branch out more, but I just needed to get my safety. I just needed to get my place to live down first, and stuff like that. So I wasn't sure if that was invisible body. Question 14: the layers of the dermis is what type of tissue? That was my own thing. I needed to know exactly what you were talking about, whether you said structure, tissue, or layer. I got those three confused. And as soon as I got those three confused, my mind broke down. So I just needed more practice for that, I think. I need to own up to that one. But for me, the papillary was I just kind of pegged that as the top of the dermis. So when I saw top of the dermis, automatically thought papillary. I didn't know that you were looking for areolar tissue. For question 7, the structures highlighted in blue that were melanocytes. I just needed to know that. I was thinking, I confused melanocytes with keratin and made them synonymous. That's obviously not true. Question 9, for the specific type of tissue, that was a straightforward question. I just didn't know I just didn't see that tissue before. So I was hoping that what you had in your PowerPoint, that you could instantly just be like, okay, well, this is like the bottom of the dermis. So then from then I would use that as an anchor to be like, okay, well, this is the stratum basal, granulosum, luciderm, and the corneum and spinosum also in there. So, but I didn't see where it started or where it ended, and it was in the middle of this tissue. So I couldn't see any other landmarks for me to try to see, is he asking for a structure? Like, what is the structure? Is he talking about, to me, that the term structure has already been like, is already in like a supportive function, because you already had a question that said, what is a non-structural connective tissue? So to me, I was just thinking like, it was either blood or not. let's see, the reticular dermal tissue. The reticular dermal tissue, it should have been obvious that it had a hair follicle, that that I knew what it was, and I answered it. We were talking in class with my classmates, and I answered it just fine, but I just completely blanked out when we started the test. On question 9, you had the black arrows on your handout. Specifically, you says do not, quote unquote, just know that the stratum lucidur is in thick skin. You actually put do not need to identify, and then you put it on the test. So I'm like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Question 39. I've only got like a couple more. Sorry. I got last one. The stratum granulosum. I just didn't recognize that histology slide. So between not having the internet to try to ruffle through visible body, try to find a textbook that has extra slides, I mostly just relied heavily on your static PowerPoint. And I think that was definitely one of my downfalls.
So let's do this real quick. Let's go through your test. So I can, sorry, I clicked. Let me bring it up on my end. I'll share my screen. Excuse me, give me 1 second. The other problem is they divide this class into 2 sections, so I have to find your actual. Share this with you.
I see it.
Okay. So what was let's start with which question? So
that one I should have known.
Okay.
Right away.
Okay. This one you got right. That one you got right. So this one, yeah, keratin is the actual substance that's produced by the melanocytes. Let's see.
This is anxiety. My next one is 9.
Next one is 9. This one was reticular connective tissue.
I think you had that on the PowerPoint. I should have just known that one. Oh no.
This one you got right.
Oh no.
You got that one right.
I don't think 9 was on the PowerPoint. 14 is my next one.
14. Okay, so this one. The layer of the dermis is made of what type of tissue?
So
were you able to see, so it sounds like you weren't able to really look at this model at all in visible body, huh?
Not really. I saw you do it on the video lecture.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
You know, I was kind of trying to separate to see where the basement membrane was, and so I wasn't quite sure exactly what it was pointing to. But I think the terminology, trying to see if, to me, tissue means the whole thing. That was the problem. I didn't know you're looking for a connective tissue terminology. I want to know
So,
how
yeah.
people kind of discern that in their head, the ones that did well, like how they were able to connect with you. I maybe
They
just
may have they may have actually gone in and looked at this model and clicked on things.
Mhm.
Yeah, when I say what this layer is dermis is made of, what type of tissue, so that was like in the lecture I said the papillary layer is made of areolar connective tissue versus the dermal versus the reticular layer of the dermis. So yeah, that one is kind of, I'll have to look at what the overall class, that's one of the other things I do is an assessment of every question. And if a majority got wrong, then I know things were not explained clearly.
Sure.
So if I'm reading this question, it says this layer of dermis is made of what type of tissue, and the layers highlighted here. This is the hardest thing about anatomy lab is you have to be familiar with the items that can be tested. I mean, when I took anatomy lab in anesthesia school, it was you just basically had to live in the lab all day because those were the models that were going to be tested. Even if you sat there and studied a book, you might get there and think like, I don't know what this model represents. So I think the biggest disadvantage for you, one of the bigger disadvantages on this test sounds like the lack of time you were able to spend in visible body.
Mhm.
Did you happen to see the video of visible body and the announcements on Brightspace?
Yeah, I was able to access it, but I'm still trying to familiarize myself with where all the content was.
Okay, so that's another thing we'll do today is I'll walk you through visible body
Okay.
to really get your understanding there. But there was one you pointed out that I really wanted to address for you. Got that right. I gave you half a point here just because it's columnar and not squamous. Squamous is the flat cell versus the column-shaped cell. Good there, good there. To get there. Structure in the cell.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess I could have said organelle. The point is, what is in the cell that's responsible for autophagy and breakdown? And that would have come from the lecture or visible body.
That's actually a classic.
Well.
I knew the answer, but I changed it.
Okay, got it. Yeah, so I want to give you credit for loose connective tissue. Yeah.
The luciderm, you said not to
Yeah.
identify it.
Here, this one I'm going to give you half credit for.
Oh, thank you.
Because technically this is a loose connective tissue, so you were on track. Dense irregular is categorized as loose connective. I just needed the more specific name, so I'll give you half credit for that.
Oh, thank you.
That one, cellular structure, yeah. That one, it's got to be some type of organelle or structure in the cell versus a unicellular gland.
I just needed to know is an organelle that you're looking for.
Yeah. So I'll give you credit for this because that is a big error on my part.
Thank you.
I have to go back and look at that. Yeah, so this one I recall going over in the video lecture.
You did.
And that's why I personally put this bracket here so you could really see that I'm talking about this layer of the epidermis.
And that's actually perfect. That's exactly what I would have expected. It's just that this particular slide, I did not see it on visible body, but you did mention this particular slide and you showed it on your video PowerPoint. But by that time, it had gone out of my brain. And then, yeah, so.
Yeah, I hear you.
Oh, PowerPoint, it shows an illustrated.
Yeah.
That didn't connect with me, with the illustrated and that real life tissue.
This one was difficult, and I may go back and change this one for people. A lot of people didn't pick up on this, and I can kind of see why. In the PowerPoint, it's dense regular connective tissue that looks stained pink like this in a very similar
Wavy
pattern. Yeah. And the fibrocartilage picture in the PowerPoint is a different stain that they use. This one's from visible body, but I can see how it's confusing. So I'm going to have to look. I kind of have this criteria. If a majority of people got it wrong, then obviously it wasn't clear. And I have a feeling you'll probably get points back for that one as well.
Because you have a slide, and Dr. K also has a slide that looks like that, but it looks like it's zoomed in with the exact same stain color and the wavy pattern. And then, except Dr. K mentioned it as parallel. So to me, it just kind of went as a regular connective tissue, dense regular.
Yeah.
But you do have an actual histology slide of that as a fibrocartilage. That's what was confusing. Because in your fibrocartilage PowerPoint, it's blue.
Right. Yeah, the stain is different. Yeah. That looks good. Okay, so I'm going to check on this. So this was supposed to be Merkel cells, and that wasn't in. That was not in your lab handout, huh? Hold on, yeah, if this isn't in your lab handout, I'm going to give you credit for it. Not that I don't believe you, let me just verify.
It's okay. And I hope you don't think that I'm trying to attack you or justify, what I'm saying. I just want you to know that I'm still trying to learn from my mistakes, and then I'm still trying to develop another strategy for next exam.
These are learning opportunities for all of us. I mean, I take that this is a way to always improve my exam. I could take my exam 100 times and think it's great, and then someone else comes along and says, no, here's how I see it or how I read it. So it's constant fine-tuning. Yeah, it looks like your Pacinian corpuscles, Meissner corpuscles. Yeah, okay. I don't see Merkel at all. All right, so I will give you points for that.
Thank you.
Sorry. Where the heck did it go?
I was confused because I don't think Dr. K even mentioned Merkel's either. We were just focusing on the Pacinian, and on your video lecture, you said it looks like an onion. So like, oh great, onion. And then and then your Meissner PowerPoint, it's more close up. So what do you suggest if I still don't understand the tissues or whatever that I see on the content, and I decide I don't want to bother you and send you like a whole bunch of email. So I said, well, let me look it up first on Google or whatever. Would you not recommend that, or because would that throw me off? Because this is such a visual subject.
If you don't understand something, come directly to me. Either email or through the messaging app are both good, and I can clear things up.
Okay.
When I went through anesthesia school, I think a lot of the faculty feel the same way. It felt like it was kind of this game where people were trying to trick you and they didn't care. And I think we in this program have a really strong feeling about helping you guys and getting you through this. I mean,
Oh, thank you.
obviously you don't want to just pass somebody and then they can't pass the board exam. That wouldn't be good. But at the same time, if things are confusing or unfair, they need to be straightened out, cleared, made more clear. This one. So the key here with this one and how I think there's a couple things on this one. Is the one that it just sounds like you didn't really get to use visible body that much. So you probably didn't realize that when you click on things, it highlights it this aqua colored blue.
No.
And that's the reason when I originally wrote this, why I put aqua blue, because I had it as blue when I originally wrote it, and I thought someone's gonna think I'm talking about this vein here.
Yeah.
So I had to get specific and I thought, like, what color is that? I don't know, aqua blue. So, but it sounds like, I mean, you're the first person to tell me this, but it sounds like I need to put an arrow in this.
Yeah. Sorry, to me that's teal.
The other key is that Meissner corpuscles sit deeper in the reticular dermis than the Pacinian corpuscles.
Okay.
And so that would know, if you knew I was talking about these structures, that is how you would know the difference between these ones versus the Pacinians that are sitting deeper here.
Let's see.
Let's see. Let's come back to this one, okay? We'll address that one in a second. Let's look. This one, stratum granulosum. Yeah, this one, I think I'm gonna stick with this one. This one, again, this just goes back to you not having the access to visible body, I think, or not being able to find everything through it. Okay, so that's the end of your test. So let's go back to this one. For clarity's sake, and I get it, this was the biggest complaint I had with Anatomy Lab. Didn't matter if I was in person or on the computer. It's like there were always questions like, what are you pointing at? What is this pin stuck on? I can't tell. And you can't pick it up even if you're in person, you're not supposed to pick it up and move it. Since you got corpuscle, you were in the neighborhood, so I'm going to give you half a point there for that. Does that sound fair?
That sounds great.
Okay. All right.
I mean,
so let me update this. So it took you to a 70,
okay,
which is better.
Yeah.
We still got work to do, but I'm confident we can get you. I'm confident you have internet now.
I have internet now. I have furniture. I have
All right.
a desk and a chair.
Where are you? Where are you living? Like cross streets wise? Gives me an idea.
I'm in the Cascades, which is 2 miles away from
Okay.
campus. Not that far. It's still walkable, but
Okay.
not walkable. But I've got Wi-Fi now. But it would still be nice to be able to hang out in the lab. Would that be helpful if I worked on with some models on
Yeah.
the lab or visible body?
I think so. I think if you went into the lab, which all you have to do is go to the lady at the front desk, say, hey, I'm with the nurse anesthesia program. I'd like to get into the anatomy lab over here, and they'll let you in. If you have any problems, send me a message.
Okay.
But that way you have absolutely, you have completely reliable internet access. What was I going to say? And then what you can do is you can actually, because now we're going to get into the bones. Do you recall me on the orientation? I know a lot was going on, but we went to the lab and there was a big black trunk. I pulled it out and that had, remember that at all?
You did. I don't know which trunk it was. I was kind of standing in the back.
Okay.
But...
So it's in the first row, right when you walk in to the door through the lab, the first row right of the lab table. There's a big black trunk there. It's probably about 2.5 long. Pull it out, open it if you want. And what you can do is as you're going through visible body, you can actually look at the bone in your hand and look at visible body. I will test, the images I will test from will be from the visible body atlas. So I think what we should do right now is get into visible body and let me walk you through that, and you can answer any questions you have.
Please.
So
only the one online is the most reliable. The visible body online, not the app. So
I like the app.
Yeah. It's faster, but I don't know if
it
it has the same. It doesn't have. When I looked at microanatomy on the app, it only had 2 slides.
Okay. Let me hold on. Let me get in here real quick.
Just for reference, I'm using the Atlas Plus.
Okay. And do you have an iPad?
I do. Yeah.
Or just your iPhone?
I have both.
Okay. So I'm going to reshare this. Oh, sorry. Okay, so when you log in, this is what it should come to here.
Okay.
Oh no, sorry, this is mine. This is what it should look like when you log in.
I recognize that, yeah.
So these weeks, so let me just go into these apps because I feel like it's clear. So they have quite a few apps. The Atlas, is this the one you have downloaded here?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The Atlas is basically like a book of everything they have, but it doesn't give you any direction. It's nice for me to teach from, and it's where I take the images for the test from. But let's say like you were looking on your lab handout and it said clavicle, and you would have to go click the clavicle and everything. What they've also created is basically what they would call their book. And this is the anatomy. This is it right here. It's anatomy and physiology.
Oh, okay.
You can download this book onto your iPad, or what I've done for you guys is that's essentially what I've set up here in this assignments area. And they're not graded, but so like week 3, if you were to open week 3 and, well, let's go back because this will be more applicable for you to see. If you were to open week 2 and then went into integumentary with detailed histology, and you were to click on this, you would, and then what you do is you click through here, and this shows you the layers, the hypodermis, the dermis. And then you say, okay, I know that. And then it starts to get more detailed, the stratum corneum. And so you can see how when I asked the papillary layer question, it probably, going through this, it probably would have came out. This is the other thing that now I'm wondering if I mentioned this in that introductory video about visible body, but when you get to the slides, there's these little radio buttons down here. I don't know if you can see them. They're very small.
I do, but I didn't recognize it. Oh.
So if you click this arrow, it goes to the next lesson.
Okay.
But if you click this, it starts going through all these slides. And so you can see right here, that stratum granulosum question I took directly from here.
Okay.
So when you're studying, let me go back out here. How do we get back? Oh, menu. So, and this is what their book thing looks like. So you were saying like, I don't know what 2.6 means or whatever at the top of these lab handouts.
Mhm.
This is what it means. So,
Okay.
if I were to go into your lab handout, I don't have a lab. Oh, I do have a lab handout. Do you have a lab handout up by chance?
I do.
If not,
Which one? One or two?
let's say 2.
Two. Okay.
Clicked off this thing and then there we go. All right, so give me at 2, what does it say on the very top as far as those number 2 point what or 4 point whatever what?
So let's say you got integumentary intro 5.1 to 5.3.
Yeah, so if you were to download this app and you weren't logged in to where it was the pre-assigned stuff that I had done, and you were like, oh, because there's a lot of extra content, then you could yourself go in here and go to 5.1 to 5.3.
Okay.
You could do 6.1. Like, let me see. Like, I didn't assign like 6.12. I didn't assign that to you guys because I didn't think it did not cover the topic. Same thing with dermal circulation. I didn't assign that to you guys. But if you were to log in through the app and you weren't in the home course page, you were in, let's see, this actual app here itself, this would be the book or the image of the book you would get. And so that's why I put those numbers on the top of that, so you could navigate your way through all of this content and not have to listen or watch content that doesn't apply to what we're learning for that week.
So this would be where the majority of the test questions will come from.
Right, yeah. So what I would do if I were studying for my exam, so let's go into skeletal. Actually, let's go to our course page, sorry. So let's go into skeletal week 3. So this is what I've assigned for you. So what I would do is just I would go through this and, okay, I have my lab handout, okay, carpals. And then on the carpals, I want you to know scaphoid,
lunate, cuneiform, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, scaphoid, lunate, triquetrium, and just go through them in this order and then look at them at different angles and stuff. For the bone ones, for the bone exam, I do give you multiple angles to look at, and I do use arrows.
Thanks.
I think what I do, if I remember correctly, I created these tests last year, but if I remember correctly, I highlight them in the blue and then I use an arrow so that you can clearly delineate what exactly I'm pointing at.
Okay.
And so start here, and then what you can do is when you're wanting to test yourself, you then go to the app that you have downloaded, the Human Anatomy Atlas Lab app. It's going to load it for a second. And then from here, and in the video lecture for this week, I show you how to get here. You go full skeleton, and then what you can do is you can say, look at your lab list, and what I would do is try to identify the bones and say, so let's say it said like ulna. I click, okay, that's the ulna. And then what you can do is, you see this button here?
Yes.
Okay, so you have to know some landmarks on some of these bones. So to get the landmarks, you click that button there, and it brings up the landmarks.
Okay.
And I explain this too in the lecture. You can kind of see me doing this in the lecture. Also, just so you know, in the app here, if you're going through what I've assigned to you, it will take you through landmarks as well. So you don't have to go searching for each bone if you don't want to. It will take you through it. So let me try to organize all these thoughts that I've given you. I would start here each week. I would start here in the assignments for the week, and I would go through each one of these. That way you get a picture of everything. I would also listen, obviously, to the lecture. The PowerPoint lecture, I don't necessarily take pictures from the PowerPoint slides. It's more of a rehash or more specific content from Dr. Kramer's course. Like, hey, here's probably what Dr. Kramer's been talking about, and I'm just gonna kind of narrow in and kind of I'm not gonna do a full lecture because you guys already got a lecture, but I'm going to kind of point some things out that you've already talked about to reinforce it. And I'm also gonna show you in Visible Body where these things are. And so the PowerPoint is kind of like a carryover from when we didn't use Visible Body. And so I've kind of meshed it in. So I still kind of use it, but it sounds like, you know, the feedback I'm getting from you, I think probably I need to start phasing some of those pictures out because they're creating some confusion, I think. So yeah, you can go through this, and some of it you may be like, I already know this, or some of this is very rudimentary, or this doesn't apply to me, or this doesn't like fractures. This is more for your anesthesia knowledge. I'm not going to test you on types of fractures. So if you were like, nah, I want to skip this, you could skip it, really. But I just threw it in there because I thought, that's kind of an interesting slide. So then using that and all of this kind of gives you like the foundation, I would say. Between my PowerPoint and this gives you the foundation for the topic you're studying as you're going through your lab handout for the week. And then what students have told me they do, they go to this atlas and they do one of two things. They either do what I said, where you're kind of looking at your handout and identifying the bone on the skeleton, or what they do is, see this button down in the corner here? You can hit share and you can download the image. And what they've done is they've gone to Quizlet and they've created flashcards via Quizlet using these images. And then they just cycle through the images and write it out handwrite it on paper. So it's almost like a practice test.
I see.
If that makes sense.
That's good.
Yeah.
The hand-mind connection.
Yeah. So, and then the other thing you can do is, I think what I would do too is, I would, for this specific test, when we're talking about, when we're talking about landmarks and knowing landmarks, what I would do is, if I were looking at the femur, I would ask myself, okay, where's the greater trochanter? Okay, it's right here. Do I know where the medial condyle as, okay, it's right here. I would do those kind of things as well, to make sure to test myself. That this is essentially what we did in anesthesia school. We would take, for the bones, for example, we take the bones and someone would put their finger at a landmark and it was unlabeled or anything, and you just had to say it. You go through all the landmarks. And so that's another thing you could do for landmarks for this coming test.
Okay.
And so for the skeleton, these are the bones you have to know: the humerus, the radius, the ulna, the femur, the tibia, the fibula, the bones of the pelvis, and then the carpals and the tarsals. Tarsals are on the foot, and then the phalanges. And then later on, we're going to talk about vertebrae, ribs, skull, everything like that. So we divided it up.
Those are the appendicular portions.
Yeah.
Okay.
What else was I going to tell you? Oh, histology. So the histology can be a pain to find. So if you're in Visible Body here and you're in your app, that's on your phone or your iPad, and you're like, okay, I don't want to log in and go to this thing to try to find histology. I want to do it from this atlas that I have on my app. Go to images, and then you have,
oh God.
and then you can click histology here, and this will give you all the histology images. So,
Oh, I thought it was only
Don't-
on that top bar. That's where histology was. Oh my God.
so I don't think there's any there might be a histology of the bone in this one. I don't think so. I think what I focus on is, if you go back to views and go to microanatomy, these two here.
Okay.
What was I going to ask you? Oh, I was going to show you something else. Do you have you said you bought the app?
I did. Atlas Plus.
Yeah.
That's-
I'm wondering if you can ask for a refund, because if you go to if you're on this beginning page of Visible Body, if you logged in through a web browser and you go to My Apps, you can click Get Mobile App. And what you do is you enter your email, and then you can download it that way for free.
Oh, okay.
But even if you can't get, even if they won't give you a refund, there are these other apps down here. So this Anatomy and Physiology 2019, this is, you just follow these directions here, and you can get the book, their electronic textbook, which is, sorry, there's this Zoom bar that keeps me from clicking on my tabs, which, like I said, will give you this material, or that I've assigned to you, that's at the top of your lab handout that says like 2.6 or 15, whatever. It directs you. So if you're tired of logging into a web browser, you technically, to get into here, you won't get everything organized the way I've organized it, but you could use your lab handout to follow along on which slides to go to, and you could so you could download this to your iPhone or iPad and do it that way as well.
Okay. All right.
So the next, it starts to get heavier with the amount of content, but I think repetition is the key. So just keep, so once you've gone through the lecture and once you have kind of gone through this visible body stuff, just keep testing yourself, whether you do it through Quizlet, whatever works for you.
All right. So if I
Yeah.
get it straight, I'm going to focus most of my content from the handout assignment numbers, and the that's mostly going to correspond to visible body. And you showed me how to do it online and offline and through the app. So now I know where things are on visible body, and I have it on the app too. It just won't be as organized as it is on the browser. So that's why I couldn't really mesh the two together, because for a second I thought it was like two different apps almost, because I couldn't find where you were looking for. So I'm going to start at the assignments. I'm going to use the visible body. I'm going to get pictures of everything, but since there's a sheer amount of so many, there's that share button that I can use to try to make my own quiz. And then also figure out the landmarks. And there's a couple of slides on microanatomy and just repetition. Okay, so at least my biggest problem was that I didn't know where any of the content was. So now I know where the content is. I just got to put in the work. Okay.
I'm glad we were able to figure that out sooner than later. There's still 4 more tests, and the final is not cumulative. It's just like another test. So I think you definitely have plenty of, there's room to make up for a poor exam, I guess is what I'm saying.
No, I'm definitely I'm just lucky to even have a seat here. I don't want to relinquish this seat. I'm really going to try my best, and I'm more than willing to do that. I just I have a little bit of an understanding when people say, oh, these inner city kids with no finances or anything like that, they have a hard disadvantage. And I kind of got a taste of that, walking around everywhere looking for internet. Then trying. It's really not easy. But no. Thank you so much for this concrete plan. You can bet that I am going to, put the time in, definitely, for sure. Thank you for
awesome.
Thanks for getting a hold of me too, and not making it not making it punitive at all, because my heart just sank to the ground. And I know if I was in an undergrad or if I was younger, I would be really freaking out. But I know this is not indicative of what my future performance will be. So thank you.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, let me know if you have any other questions. Okay.
I will, Professor. Thank you.
All right. You're welcome, Howie. I'll talk to you soon. Okay.
All right.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Hi, cutie. Sorry for a boring day. Still have work to do. Oops. Uh-oh, are out of battery? Yeah. I was just out of battery. Sorry, so I had to talk with the professor about that. And let's put a clip. Hopefully I recorded that.